How much diligence is due when you do due diligence?
I don't know. That sounds like your problem, but I'm going to solve it for you. So the big question is this. As real estate agents, how do we figure out where and when to cross the finish line of this crazy business? We're told that we need to build a real estate business that supports us after we pay our dues. Well, the truth is that so many agents spend decades looking for the finish line and never find it. And I don't know about you, but we'll be damned if we're doing open houses until we're 70. You have to have passive streams of income in your real estate business if you want to survive. Well, this is exactly what we're talking about right here, right now, on the Passive Real Estate Agent Podcast. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Passive Real Estate Agent Podcast. I'm Anthony Nitz, and I'm here with my partner,
Matt Stewart.
Matt
We're
Stewart.
going to get
Yeah,
the timing down one of these days.
he was so excited. Oh man, we're glad that you guys are here. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing okay today.
Oh yeah, doing great. Just another busy day, making things happen. That's what we got to do every single day. You got to hustle and work hard, but there's simple ways to do that. Today, on today's episode, Matt is going to be talking about doing due diligence, and I'm going to guess that while it's so important to do, it's probably not as ominous as a lot of people think, right? Because it's
right. Yeah, you'll have checklists to make sure you're hitting each mark, and but yeah, I'll go into that. There's actually three parts that you're going to be looking at. And so I'll go.
It's like anything that is consistent. Is you have a system. You put a system in place and makes it work and everything, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about your problems. Your problems. What's your problem, Matt?
Well, I need a nice comfy couch, and I'll lean back, and I'll tell you all about my problems.
Nice. You need a recliner. There you go. I talk to agents all the time, and they come to me and they go, Anthony, I've got to get business. I got to stand out. I got to be different. I got to get people who actually want to talk to me, who want to call me, who want to use my services and all that stuff, right? And if you guys know me, you know that I am a huge fan of inbound marketing, right? Inbound marketing. And what I mean by that is people actually call me. They call me and they say, Anthony, we have a house to sell. Can you sell our house? Gee, I don't know. Let me think about it. Yeah, sure. Of course I can. As opposed to banging on the phones every single day, doing 100 calls a day and that sort of thing. I mean, there's an effective strategy, and that's right for the right person, right? But I know that there's a lot of people in our industry, in our space, that is really, it's painful for them to do that type of prospecting. So I got to take my jacket off here, get a little warm. In our space, it's painful for them to kind of go, yeah, we've got to, call, knock, beg people to do business with us. And it doesn't have to be like that at all. It doesn't have to be like that at all. But what do we resort to? And a lot of times on social media and stuff, we resort to what we call, property bait, right? So every agent out there, if you follow agents on social media like I do, you see everybody puts property out there. Hey, this beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath, blah, 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 over here for this price, and it's available. Call me, blah, 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 right? And it works to a certain degree. It works to a certain degree, but as well as I do, it's more about getting leads, where in my opinion, leads are not as good as prospects. Okay. Again, right. Inbound calls, I consider prospects. And, so we do all this stuff, but I'm going to challenge you to think about your marketing in a little bit different way. And what I like to ask people is I kind of try to figure out what is their actual problem and how do I solve it. Okay. So let's look at it from this perspective. So a seller, when a seller decides that they're going to sell their house, they've got a whole new set of problems that come up for them, a whole bunch that come up for them. One of them is finding a real estate agent, right? Well, in social media, you've got 1,000 real estate agents that are posting, hey, list with me. Here's why we're the best, hire the best, blah, 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 right? The challenge with this is that there's 1,000 agents posting the same stuff, and it becomes brand, not even brand, but ego marketing, right? It's like, we're number one, right? And I'm sure you've heard this before from different marketers and different coaches and trainers and things like that. You're out there promoting we're number one. People don't care about you being number one. They care about, are we getting, the best when we hire you? But what you have to do is you have to get in front of them in that stream of their thought process of getting to the point where they have to actually call an agent, right? Because there's a lot of things that happen, Matt. I mean, tons of stuff happens for a home seller when they are sitting there at the coffee table and they say, honey, I think it's time to sell the house. There's actually a bunch of things that happen before that. There's thought process. There's a bill that was missed. There was a second bill that was missed. Oh no, somebody got laid off. Somebody got, pregnant and needs a bigger house. Somebody, and things start happening in their life that leads them to the point where they go, okay, now we've got to move. We've got to sell our house and move to a bigger house, smaller house, out of state, whatever it is, right? And then when they get to that point, there's still a whole other set of problems, right? They've got to figure out, okay, how do we figure out what the price is? How do we figure out how to stage and present the house? Finding a storage company that we can put all of our junk in so our house looks nice. Getting a landscaper to freshen up the front yard so that we actually have good curb appeal and get people to get out of the car and actually walk into the house, right? These are all sorts of problems that people have in any business, in any situation, any scenario. If you can think about what are those problems ahead of time, then you can capture those people, get them endeared to you long before they actually make that decision to call a real estate agent. And hopefully the idea is, you know what, Anthony, we've been getting, and I get this all the time, Anthony, we've been getting your newsletters, your updates, your emails, we see your ads, we see all this stuff. And we love the videos that you do on how to, present the house properly, how to get great curb appeal, how to, get your house ready for sale, how to understand, negotiating commissions, how to, all these things that people think about long before they ever come to the point where they have to hire an agent. And so there's kind of a process that I go through when I think about this. Number one is I go, okay, what is the immediate problem? The immediate problem is we got to sell a house. Okay. In this case, now it could be a buyer, and keep in mind that it could be different niches as well, right? So let's just talk about sellers. So there could be a seller, just a traditional sale. They got to move. There's, something came up, a life event happened. They decided, it's time to move up, move down. Okay. So then you got to go, okay, are they a move up or move down seller? Okay. Well, you don't know that because you don't know if they are going to, what they're going to be doing. Now, I like to focus on move up buyers because when I do the math and I go, and I have my numbers written on the board right here. If I list one house at 600,000, statistically, they're buying a replacement house at 800,000. Okay. So yeah, of course, I don't want to focus on move down, right? Mm-hmm. So I would write articles about the processes you have to go when you're planning on moving to a bigger house. Okay. And then you think about just, you go deep on the problem discovery. You say, okay, they got to sell the house. They want to move up. Okay. What is the underlying problem? What got them there? Well, if they're moving up, it's probably because in many cases, a couple of things. Number one, they have an expanding family. Number two, they already have a large family and they're cramped and they're locked down in COVID and they're realizing, my God, we are all over each other, right? Right. Or they are or something has changed in their employment where now they're finally making the money that they want to make, right? And they go, we can do it, or even interest rates drop to ridiculous low levels, something like that. Affordability changes for them. Excuse me. So what I would do is I would take those and start with those and just start creating content around that. And what I would do is I'd create a whole series of those and make sure that I get those out there and do it in a way where I'm getting good search engine optimization using the correct titles. But also I will create the content and then I will run ads to home owners, and they will see that article that simply talks about, what do you need to do to freshen up your front yard. Okay. And then I give them an opportunity to click on a link to download the free report on how to get their yard ready, right? How to move, how to make moving easy when you have kids, how to make moving easy when you have pets, right? Things like that. These are things that people are thinking about when they're deciding to make that transition. And now, so what I've done is I've cut way into the front of the line. And if I can get in front of them there and I can just keep giving them good content, and now I've hopefully captured their emails, now I can continue to send them more information, and stay on top of mind, eventually get their phone, their address, their whatever, right? Get them a property valuation, moving on and all that stuff. So figuring out what people's problems are, that is probably one of your most important thing. I tell people this all the time. On your real estate license, it says salesperson, or it says, a broker or broker associate or whatever, right? It's a lie. It is a lie. You are not a salesperson. You are not a salesperson at all. Sales is a function of the result of your marketing. Okay. Sales means nothing if you have no leads, if you have nobody reaching out to you saying, hey, we're thinking about selling our house, or we're thinking about buying, first-time buyers,
right?
Move-up buyers, vacation buyers, variety of transitional type of things, right? People who want to buy houses for their kids. There's so many different angles. So what I would suggest you do is find out what those problems are and start creating content series on those things. And then one of the other things, and this is my final thought on this, is that what happens to me all the time is I get people who call me. I'm in Orange County, California, right? So I'm nowhere near the East Coast. I get calls from Pennsylvania, from Montana, from Texas, from Oklahoma, and they're like, hey, we saw your article, we read your article, and this is the beauty of the internet, right? In the olden days, probably just only a few short years ago, I would say, I'm sorry, I don't work in Oklahoma. But because of the system that we have set up now, that we'd love to have you be a part of and love to invite you to come and learn more about, I'm able to refer those to people all over the nation and not worry about having to chase down commission checks, right? That's the biggest problem with referrals is you get on realtor.com, you look somebody up, oh, they look nice. They look like a good person, right? Same thing everybody else does when they hire an agent, they look so friendly. I like their smile. They've never sold a house before, but they look nice, and then, and you send them the referral, and then like 3-4 months later, you're going, what's going on with that listing? And you can't get a hold of them, or they're ghosting you. You call their broker and they're like, well, too bad. We don't want to pay a commission on it. Right. I've had it happen. So our system ensures that to be done. And you can set up a call with me or Matt to talk about that just by going to our website. We'll talk more about that afterwards. But, we talk about things like doing due diligence too, right?
So now that's all of the marketing stuff that you're talking about, holding their hands, figuring out what's going on. I mean, that takes a lot of listening and a lot of skills to know how to respond to them, right?
Well, it's human nature. You know what I mean? I mean, just you just think about human nature, right? You go, because if you're trying to solve people's problems, you are you're just, all you have to do is look around and excuse me, see what these people are dealing with, what is their problem, and figuring out how to solve it, right? So that's really what it comes down to, you know.
Sure.
So sorry. But Matt, so we're gonna let's cut over to you though. I mean, because you've got some valuable information here to share about,
Sure.
you know, about doing due diligence. Due diligence applies to a lot of things. It's not just investing in real estate. I mean, even if you're doing marketing and advertising and this and that, right? You got to do due diligence, which is
Right.
finding out a problem. Due diligence is a problem that needs to be solved, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And you're basically with due diligence is, am I getting what I'm expecting to buy? Like, I'm being promised something, and now I'm going to verify that what I'm being promised is actually, the truth. It's nothing short of that. So yeah, we're talking about multifamily apartments. Like the last episode that we spoke about, we were writing a letter of intent. We've analyzed the deal. We've looked at the numbers, and it looks good. Now we've written an offer or a letter of intent to the seller, and the seller says, "Yes, I want to do this with you." Now what you do is the due diligence portion of that, and there's actually three parts to due diligence when it comes to multifamily. There's the financial, there's the physical, and then there's the legal aspects. And the first thing you're going to be doing is the financial. You want to make sure that, like I was saying, what you believe you're buying is actually true. So this gives the seller the chance to prove the income, because you're basing your offer on the income of the property. So they're going to give you operating statements from the last 3 years, the rent roll, the profit and loss, and all those things. You're going to verify that. If at that point things look good, great, you can move on to other things. Otherwise, you're going to either renegotiate or you're going to walk away, because if it's not true, then that affects the performance of the property. But if the numbers do look good, then what you're going to do is you're going to look at legal. You're going to get a good attorney, look at the title. Is the title clear? Is there anything hindering the transfer of the title or the property into your name? Because realistically, investors will, after a few years, choose to sell. Some of them will hold for a longer period of time, but some people will hold for 3-4 years and then sell. You don't want things to hinder that sale. So you have an attorney, look up title. If there's problems, the attorney will help fix it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do the physical inspections. Now, there's going to be money that you're spending on an engineer or an inspector. They're going to go and look at the roofs and the boilers and all the physical things. And so this is why you want to do the financial thing first, because if the financial stuff, performance of the property doesn't make sense, you don't want to spend money on other things. So yeah, now if the finance is good, now you've done title, now you're going to do the physical and just verify what kind of expenses are you're going to be looking at once you take ownership. Hopefully that won't be anything major, but maybe there's some cosmetic things you're going to do, but for the most part, that's the last thing you'll be doing before you actually close.
So on the financial part of it, because this is probably the most important part of it, right?
Yes.
Physical stuff, it can be fixed. I mean, barring, it being built on top of an old, oil refinery,
Right.
Right, which would be a problem. But physical stuff, it's easy to fix. It's you get a contractor in there and just fix it, right?
Right.
But it's a cost, it's an expense.
Right.
But the financial part is always the biggest part, and this is the thing that I've run into, more often than not, is that the financial part doesn't sometimes match up to what it is that they're initially telling you, right? So like you look at the MLS and it says, oh, you have a cap rate of this, and here's what the rents are and things like that. And then you start digging in and you go, I want to see the actual lease agreements.
Oh, that's
Then
huge.
what?
That's huge, because if you don't have legal documents, then who's there? You know, who's actually occupying your units. And like, especially in a place like California, the laws are set up that are very favorable to the tenants. So if you're an owner and you have to evict someone, it's a very expensive proposition to hire a lawyer and have them go to court to evict that person, even if there's no agreement, but they're squatters, for example. You know, that's, you want to know what's going on before you actually take ownership.
Right. So it's critical. And if you yourself don't know, gee, what am I actually looking at? What are the numbers that I'm looking at here? And is it good? Is it bad in that due diligence? Because, you know, I mean, look, I don't personally invest in multi-unit properties. And so if I was looking at a 15-unit building and somebody handed me, you know, their books, I could come to a reasonable conclusion. But at some point in time, I would be like, I don't know. What does this mean? And how does
Right.
this translate and things like that? So what do you do if you don't know?
Well, first of all, I've talked about this in the past. You want education. You want to train yourself up a little bit so that you know what's going on. But before you get to looking at numbers and so forth, you're going to come to some sort of understanding of what kind of numbers you're looking for before you actually see a property. Because you're going to be able to, the numbers are going to be more understandable if you know that I want a cap rate of 10% and I want cash on cash of 8%. I mean, those are like, for some people, like, what's all that mean? But if you take some time to learn what those are and know what your personal goals are, like some people are okay with a lower cap rate. Some people want a higher cap rate, and they won't look at things that are lower. So those are the ideas that before you actually start analyzing, you want to take some classes, some training, reading, so that you can understand what those numbers mean. And then it's going to be easier to come to some sort of a reasonable understanding of what you're looking at, and whether it's.
And if you want, go to the passiverealestateagent.com and click on the contact and reach out to Matt. Set up an appointment with him. He'll get you pointed in the right direction. So
absolutely, there's a lot of resources.
Yeah. What about legal? So legal, we're talking about, you have an attorney, depending on where you are. It's either an attorney or a title company that's looking right at the
each state's different. Some are attorney states, some are title escrow, but there's a service that's going to make sure that, this person owns it clear. There's no other encumbrances or easements. I've met a person who, when I was doing notary work, they refinanced their house 10 years ago, had a HELOC, like where they were pulling cash out of the property, and then they refinanced. They paid it off, but that escrow company failed to close their the HELOC, the line of credit. Well, they refinanced a bunch of times over the years, and most banks were like, no problem. But finally, when I came down to do the loan closing, there was a no-go. The bank says, you've got a lien on your property. We can't close. So it was a lot of extra time and effort to deal with that thing that happened 10 years ago. There was no money owed. I mean, they took care of it properly. It's just somebody forgot to record that this was a closed thing. And so that's why you look at that. Now, that can hinder your ability to sell the property if you're trying to do that. So that's why you want to have an attorney or title or escrow look at those things and make sure everything's clear. And
a perfect example of that, I have a client, we're helping them get through a refinance, and they had, on their last refinance, they had 8 liens that they had to clear. Variety of things, tax liens and this and that and everything.
Right.
And they cleared it on those 8 liens. Sure. However, Not a single one of them was recorded as clear. And so as we're going through this process, we are going, oh my gosh, you got 8 liens. We got to get that clear. And he's like, what? No, now he had to spend an exorbitant amount of time digging through old paperwork to find that, no, here's this one that's paid off. Here's this one that's paid off. Here's this, and he gave it all to us. But yeah, those things happen. And I had another one. This is actually probably my favorite one. I say favorite as I roll my eyes, where I had a single father, 2 kids in a house, nice house, well kept, very, loving family and all that stuff. Mom left 15 years before, right? Up and left. Nobody heard a single thing from her.
Wow.
Nothing at all, right? Well, comes time, he decides that he wants to sell the house. Guess who shows up out of the, thin blue sky? Mom, I want my half. What? First of all, how'd you know we were selling?
Yeah.
But even in that case, the title company was going, well, Mom's still on here. Nobody knows how to get a hold of her. Nobody knows how to do this. The title company would not insure it without, having mom sign off a quitclaim deed, or having some sort of court order, or having her declared deceased or something like that. Cause they had no clue yet. Right in the middle of escrow, she shows up and says, I want my half, so that was not cool. But technically in California, I guess, she has the right to do that. Right. So that's legal. We got physical, obviously physical. Like I said, it's just, you want to check. So on physical, we're looking at mostly systems, safety, and structure, right?
Right. Things that I'm going to have to pay for once I take possession. You want to be aware of those things. Would anything cause me to want to renegotiate with the seller, or ask for an allowance back at closing? Because if you don't know about it, you still own it, even if you weren't aware of it. So you want a good, qualified person showing you everything that needs attention.
Right. So if you're looking at systems, you're looking at like roof, plumbing,
HVAC, boilers. A lot of times these big complexes will use boilers for their heaters. Those are real expensive to fix. But yeah, things, larger stuff, foundation work. There's the foundation stuff. And here's another thing, soil samples. You could have a dry cleaner across the street down a little ways, and they've leaked chemicals into the ground, and those chemicals have traveled underground through the soil onto your property. Guess what? Yeah. That's your problem. You're going to have to clean that up. It's not their problem. It's on your property.
Right.
So these are things that you want to be aware of before you sign off.
Right. Yeah. And then the safety stuff too, because obviously, like you said, the chemicals and things like that. But I mean, you could have simple things like trip hazards.
Yep.
If there's something, exposed wiring, things like that. We've seen all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's little stuff. A lot of times it's just little stuff, but it's important because,
Are there code violations?
Yeah, code violations.
Things that were, they added something to the building that was not permitted. That becomes your responsibility to fix.
Right.
There's
termite damage and all that stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Do they have termites in Texas? I think you have termites that are this big, don't you?
Yeah, they're larger than in California.
Larger, okay.
By a 10 factor. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to do your due diligence, is what you're saying. That's what you're saying in the end.
Yes. Do the due diligence diligently.
Yeah, diligent. How much diligence do you have to do when you do due diligence? That's kind of like, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
I was just thinking that. You beat me to the punch, Anthony.
Oh my God. Well, I think, that's so important. And due diligence is so important just in every aspect of life, right? Yeah. I mean, especially when you're buying properties, folks, we spend more time researching and studying and learning all the specs and details about our new cell phone than we do on looking at our new home that we're going to live in. That's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds or millions of dollars, right? So why wouldn't you do the due diligence on it? Well, because it's, it takes work and everything. But if you're with the right person, if you've got the right team, Matt's only talked about this 10 times.
Yeah.
If you got the right team, it's easy and it's worth it. It's worth it, right? Because that's where people go wrong, is they take shortcuts, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's, if anything, if you can remember anything, get good people around you.
Yeah. And pay them. So I have a philosophy. So people, they come to me and they say, they go, well, yeah, we'll do this work for you, and it's going to be, $500. You know what I always do? I always slip them an extra $100.
Sure.
And I'll tell you why I do that. And I don't make a big deal of it. I don't do anything. I go, that's right. Then you earned it,
Right.
And the reason is because when they're going to all the other guys and they're doing their inspections and they're doing their research and they're doing their work and whatnot, and then I call them up, they're happy as a clam to come and work for me. And
Anthony takes good care of me. I'm going to.
Yeah. And they're going to do a little bit extra more than the other folks, because they don't want to take care of them, so don't be selfish and stingy and worried about dollars, because you worry about a few dollars now, it's going to cost you a lot of dollars in the future.
Absolutely.
Right? So anyways, guys, so think about how to solve your customers' problems. Go deep on it. Say, well, if they've got this problem, what are the problems that lead up to that? And then what are the problems that lead up to that? What are the problems that lead up to that?
Anticipation of those, their needs.
And start, and it could be people buying multi-unit properties. It could be a single family house, could be a condo, could be a mobile home. I don't know, but whatever it is, figure out what those problems are and address those problems up front, and you'll get a whole lot more leverage than you will if you're just out there putting property bait and saying, we're number one, use us. Right. So guys, if you want to reach out to us, get a hold of us, we'd love to talk to you. We've answered any questions that you guys have. You want to talk to me about marketing, then let's talk. If you want to talk to Matt about investing in properties, then I'm happy to do that as well. Sure. Just go to thepassiverealestateagent.com and click on the contact tab and schedule a call with us. We'd love to do it.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care, Matt.
Have a good night. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Passive Real Estate Agent Podcast. Hey, do us a favor and subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us right now. Don't forget the likes and the comments. We always appreciate it. And, it really helps others to find this valuable information. Now, look, there's something that both Matt and I and several of our guests have discovered that has radically changed our real estate job into a truly passive income. And it's a little controversial, and that's why we really don't discuss it on the show. But we'd like to invite those truly entrepreneurial individuals to learn more. Just visit thepassiverealestateagent.com and join one of our upcoming webinars. You'll thank yourself later that you did. Thanks again so much for listening. Take care.